Cap, we know that that plane made an emergency landing right there in the Loudoun County Parkway. What can you tell us thus far?
Yeah, so as you've been recapping, there's very limited information on what we know exactly happened here. We do know that the Virginia State Police responded just before 1 o'clock, according to their press release that they just sent. They said that this was a call about a small private aircraft making an emergency landing. You can see that aircraft that's right behind us. So I'm going to step out of the way so you guys can get a better look at it. So it's been about an hour or so since all of this unfolded. The scene itself, of course, is still very active. You can see a lot of different law enforcement and first responders, emergency officials on here. Now, I can tell you that from what we last heard, there are no injuries that have been reported. Again, state police are still here on the scene. There is no telling, though, how long they will be here for. That is something that we're hoping to kind of figure out as the afternoon goes on, as the nature of this goes. Just kind of unclear of how long they'll be out here, what exactly is their protocol. I'm assuming they're going to have to clear this, of course, at some point. But yeah, right now we're still just trying to gather information on here as well. We know the FAA will be investigating too.
I want you to take, so what I'm looking at is there happens to be a gentleman in beige pants. It looks like a young man. I see the EMS standing next to him as well. I saw earlier that he left from an ambulance. Does he happen to be, do you know, one of the passengers that was on the plane when it actually made that emergency landing?
We haven't heard any specifics on that, so I don't want to speak too soon. We're still waiting to hear information on that. You guys are watching this unfold in real time just as we are. So again, some of this information that's coming out right now is all very preliminary information. I can tell you, I will say, outside of this scene right here, this is a pretty busy area. There's, of course, I know you guys can't see this, but it's by a gas station. There's a few restaurants here. So there's a lot of witnesses who are also here right now. We're hoping that shortly here we can maybe talk to somebody that was here when this happened to see what they saw. But yes, we will be gathering all of that information hopefully in the coming hours.
Yeah, I've been saying this since we've had a live video of this. If you take a look at the plane, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it appears as a portion of that propeller happens to be bent. I mean, I would only assume, and once again, this is just speculation, that perhaps that occurred upon landing. It looks as if it hit the ground and or the guardrail. Do you see any damage in that area to the plane?
To the plane, it's kind of hard from our vantage point. I will tell you that the FAA just did release a statement a few minutes ago, basically saying that, again, as you can see, this is a single engine plane that made a hard landing here, Route 606. We do know, this is according to the FAA, that this plane departed Dulles International in Virginia around 12:15 local time. According to the FAA, 7 people were on board this plane, but again, we're not hearing of any injuries. All this information is just coming from the FAA a few minutes ago. But again, they're going to continue investigating, and they are going to be posting their preliminary accident/incident reports online, though we're not sure entirely when that would be.
Yeah, so very quickly, I mean, obviously you were standing right there in front of the crash, you being a part of the media. We were watching as you made your way to that scene. For folks that are traveling in that area, dear God, they're already dealing with snow and ice. Talk about your experience to get to that portion of where you're at and what you would recommend other folks to do.
Yeah, so if you are traveling this way, just bear in mind you're going to see a lot of law enforcement. You can probably see it from our vantage points here, all of these flashing lights. It's really hard to miss out here. When we were driving here, I will tell you, we were kind of urged to basically make a left, maybe go around the scene if you can. This entire road is not necessarily shut down. I would say probably a few yards from where this plane is, that part is shut down and kind of being taken over by law enforcement right now. So they are basically urging people to go around this area if you have to pass here, from what it looks like.
Yeah, we've been speaking right here on Fox 5 Live throughout the day with DDOT, MDOT, and in this case, being in Virginia, it would be VDOT. For the most part, they said the roads have been somewhat treated and are clear. Would you attribute that to the reason that the plane was able to make an emergency landing? Because it looks like it could have been a lot worse than what it is.
It's hard to tell. You know, I spoke with VDOT a little bit earlier when we were originally assigned to cover weather, but from, like you mentioned, VDOT has been working to treat these roads. They've been just really monitoring these roads and making sure that these roads are as safe as they can, from what we can tell from the spokesperson. So as you mentioned, they have been treating these roads. When we were driving around, I will tell you, the roads were wet, no doubt. Didn't see a ton of slick spots when we were out, but As you mentioned, VDOT has said that they are continuing to monitor these roads. The spokesperson did also tell us in a past interview a few minutes ago that all of their crews right now are on 12-hour shifts, so they are really just working around the clock here. But as far as to your earlier question about whether or not we can attribute that, I'm really not really the best expert for that, I suppose, but definitely something that we should probably follow up with VDOT about.
Yeah, stand by for me just 1 second, Liliana. I know it's cold, and I appreciate you staying with us. We're just past 2 minutes past the top of the hour, and I want to recap for folks that are joining us right here on Fox 5 Live, which, by the way, you're watching this unfold as we watch it unfold. Probably the only folks in town that can do this live. So, Lili, we thank you for that.